I don't think you can see that. I am unnecessarily nervous about filming this video. Yeah, I don't know how to start this video. I guess I should start by saying, like, my name is Alex. I have never put that in a video before. It's not the first time I said it on camera, but this should be the first time that I actually have the courage to post a video with me saying that at the very beginning. As some of you probably know, last summer, a year and like a week and a half ago, so it was I remember I posted it on July 8th, so it's July 16th. So yeah, it's been a year and 8 days. I introduced my videos and all that sort of stuff very differently than I feel comfortable doing now. So yeah, my name is Alex. I do use they, them pronouns. You guys have probably noticed my beautiful pride flags in the background of my videos. This one is an ace pride flag, asexuality, which I've talked about a lot because I'm obsessed with books with ace rep. And this one is an aromantic pride flag. If you don't know what those are, please go look it up because I don't have the time to try to explain it to everyone. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll do a longer video about this stuff, but not right now. I just felt like I had to say it since it's been a year since I posted my first video. I meant to do this last week and post this video on the day that I posted my very first video because I wanted that to sort of be a conclusion, but that didn't happen. A lot of life stuff is happening to me right now. I'm sorry if I sort of disappear in the next month or so. I don't really know what my living situation is going to be like until I move into my house in September before university. So I'm kind of just all over the place. And adding to that, I haven't done the mid-year book freakout tag yet. That's what we're doing today. I didn't mean for it to be this long until I posted it and like filmed it and stuff, but it happened. We're gonna go for it. We're just gonna do this. We're just gonna do this. And also, like I said, like my living situation's a mess. So the books that you see in front of you right now are the only books I don't have in a box. And a lot of them are going in a box very soon. I just don't have a box for them yet. You can't see them, I don't think, but I have 5 boxes of books over here. And like, that's not even all of my books. I have more books in a storage unit in the UK, which is insane. Because like, that's a lot of books. Why do I have so many books? Anyway, I'm not gonna stress about it. Instead, I'm going to do this video because I really like filming this video and I'm really excited about it. So the first question is the best book that you've read so far this year, and that would have to be, without a doubt, like, there's quite a few books that are up there for me. I've read so many good books this year, but I think that on top of that list, a book that made me feel all the feels was I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. I should mention also, I'm taking a page out of Sasha over at Midnight Books' book. That didn't really make sense, but anyway. One of the things she said at the very beginning of her mid-year freakout tag was that she wasn't going to duplicate or double up on books for questions, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm not going to mention any book twice, just for the sake of being able to talk about as many books and authors as possible. So yeah, I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. I don't think I ever really was able to express how much this book currently means to me. I read it back in March. I read it as like my second book in March when I was having a really hard time in my life. Like, things were just like, the world was already starting to go insane. This was after coronavirus had hit China, but before it had really spread to any country that was close to me, so it didn't quite feel real, but it sort of became this like impending doom cloud. Because I think that the week after I read this book was when the US went into lockdown, my family went into lockdown, and then 2 weeks later the UK was in lockdown where I was. So this book came to me at a time when I really needed it too, for my own sort of identity crisis sort of thing. Yeah, this book just means the world to me, just like a lot of other books that I've read in the past year that have to do with my various identities. I guess I should talk about this book, like what it's about. This book is about a non-binary character named Ben who, after they come out to their parents, are kicked out of their house and are forced to live with their sister, who they've been estranged from for 10 years after their sister basically just left after the end of high school because of their living situation, basically. And it's not a happy book by any means. but it's an important one to talk about, like coming out and family. There are quite a few trigger warnings in this book, particularly for transphobia and homophobia, and there's a lot of talk about depression and anxiety. But there are beautiful moments in this book. That's definitely a sentence that works. There are beautiful moments in this book too, and they're amazing, and I wish I could hold it up for you. I wish I was holding it right now. I know that, like, I'm gonna put up a picture. I hope there's enough room so you guys can see it, but like, this, I don't think I can express how much this book means to me. I don't think I can ever express how much this book means to me. And if I ever get to meet the author Mason Deaver, I'm going to cry. Not only because that'll probably be the first time I ever meet another non-binary person, like, in person, but because they wrote this amazing book, and I just... Okay, I need to stop and just keep going. This is gonna be me for this entire video, except for the books, like, when I'm talking about the books that I didn't like. Next question is the best sequel that you've read this year so far, and I've read quite a few sequels that were, like, pretty good, but out of the books that were, like, my favorites, I love them with all of my heart sequels, that definitely would have to go to Heartstopper Volume 3 by Alice Oseman, which is the third volume in the Heartstopper series, so here I have volumes 1 and 2. This book, all of these books, Alice Oseman, man. These books follow our main characters, Charlie and Nick. Charlie is a year 10 at their all-boys private school, I guess. It's grammar school, that's what it's called. And in the past year, he has been sort of publicly outed as gay. So he was bullied for a while, but like it sort of calmed down, and now he's just sort of living his life. And then in his form group, he meets Nick, who is a year 11, and is sort of like, it's funny, in this book, Charlie's mom describes Nick as like a laddish, sporty sort of boy, and I was like, that's perfect. It's perfect. It just works so well, because that's exactly the way he is. He's the captain of the rugby team, you know, all of these things that you stereotypically would assume, like a jock, you know, all these things. And he and Charlie become really good friends really fast after getting to sit in forums together, and Charlie has this huge crush on Nick, but has convinced himself that Nick is straight, and then things go from there. And it's so cute. It's so wholesome and heartwarming and adorable to see these characters just living their lives. I would honestly read graphic novels about them for the rest of their life. I would read a graphic novel about every single year of their life, because it would just be so cute. It would be so cute. And Alice Oseman's illustration style is amazing. Her storyline is phenomenal. I love this series so much. I can't express how much I love it, and yeah. I need to stop blathering on about everything, but that's what we're gonna do, because Okay, the next question is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to, and I had no idea what to book for this book until one of my pre-orders finally came in the mail, and that is Loveless by Alice Oseman, the same author as the Heartstopper series. This book did come out, I think, late last week in the UK, but I had to ship my copy from the UK, so it took a while to get here, which was really sad. But it's here now, it's finally here, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to read this book. I'm so excited to read this book. This book follows, I mean, obviously I haven't read it, so like, I'm really just reading the description, but this book follows Georgia, who is entering her first year at university, and she has never been in love, but she thinks like this is the time that it's going to happen. She's never really had a crush on anyone, but she loves like love and fan fiction and love stories, and so she thinks that there's no way that, you know, she'll never have a love story. And it's all about sort of questioning your identity and sort of discovering who you are. And while I think that this book would have served me 10 times better if I had read it at the beginning of my first year of uni, which was this past year, I do think that I'm going to love this book so much when I finally get to read it. Hopefully in the next couple of days, that's my plan, because I honestly want to read it right now. But I'll talk at the end of the video about what I've been reading recently so that you can see why I can't read it immediately, but I am going to soon, very soon, because this is excellent. The next question is your most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. And I suppose if I had filmed this in June, I probably would have said Loveless, because I was so excited for Loveless. And even now, I have so many. At first I was just gonna pick one, but I think I'm just gonna name a couple and not really talk about them, but I'll just sort of say like, I'm really excited for Harrow the Ninth, which is the sequel to, oh, there it is, Gideon the Ninth, which is coming out at the beginning of August. There's Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, which is about a trans boy whose family doesn't accept him as trans, so he goes on a mission to prove to them that he is, you know, actually a guy, which he is, and sort of unleashes holy hell in the process. And it sounds really cute and fun, and like, also, I will read anything with LGBTQ plus books. I mean, characters. I will read anything with LGBTQ plus characters, so I'm here. And then there's Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, which has been anticipated for so many years by V.E. Schwab fans, just because she's talked about it for so long, and now it's finally coming, thank God. And I think last but not least would be, oh shoot, what's it called? It's the 4th book in the Ember and the Ashes series. A Sky Without Stars? A Sky Beyond the Storm. I was close. The 4th book in the Ember and the Ashes series, and I believe it's the final book. And I've been reading this series ever since, I think it was just after A Torch Against the Night came out. And they're phenomenal. Sabaa Tahir is such an amazing writer. Her characters are insane, and even though they're mostly straight, I'm still gonna read it. That's how much I like it, guys. So, next question is your biggest disappointment of the year. And I had a couple of books. I feel like for the most part, I have enjoyed the books that I've read in this past year. I hope you can't hear that plane flying by. You probably can. It's fine. But one that I would say was a disappointment for me was Paper Towns by John Green, which I just read back in June. And I don't know if I can consider it truly a disappointment because I didn't have super high expectations going into it. But I did think that I was going to genuinely enjoy it and like be like, oh yeah, 3 or 4 stars, like, you know, on the higher end of my scale, not like amazing the way the last couple of books I've talked about have been, but like not horrible, right? No, that is not how it went at all. I read this book really fast because I was doing a 24-hour readathon, and honestly I just wanted it to be over. I have read The Fault in Our Stars, Turtles All the Way Down, and Looking for Alaska, all by John Green, and it's been a little while since I've read any of them. Yeah, I read Looking for Alaska most recently back in 2018, but I don't remember, like, none of those books I disliked as much as this one. This one, like, the characters were obnoxious, the plot was boring. I didn't actually get into it until, like, there were only less than 100 pages left in the book, which isn't a good time to be getting into a book. Like, you want to be into the book by page, I don't know, like 20% of the way in the book, depending on how long the book is. Like, you want to get into the book quickly because then you're invested and you want to keep reading. And this book just didn't have that for me. And I don't know, I was just like, the characters all seemed kind of stupid and trivial, and yeah, I just didn't like it, so. But I'm not going to ruminate on it anymore. I'm pretty sure this is the last time I'm going to talk about that book, just because I just don't, I want it to leave me alone, honestly. So, the next question is your biggest surprise of the year. And like I said, I usually go into a book, like, expecting to enjoy it, so surprise, like, something really has to take me by surprise for me to say that it's a surprise. But the one that I think I definitely have to talk about for this one is The Future of Another Timeline by Annalee Newitz, which I read for the NB Book Club book pick for June. And I didn't really read any synopses when I first heard about it. I was just like, oh, it's for the NB Book Club, like, I have to read it, I'm automatically gonna pick it up. And I saw the cover, and like, I read the title, and I was like, okay, so it's a sci-fi. And like, I don't know, I just wasn't as excited about it as I was about the other book, All Boys Aren't Blue. But I read it, and I got so invested so fast. Like, this book is insane. Like, the world, the way that the author has created this whole world inside of our own, it's sort of like a speculative fiction because most of it is based in our reality, but there's also time travel. The main character is a time traveler that sort of goes back in history and tries to correct things that terrorist groups keep trying to change in the whole timeline of the world. And it's just like, I can't even describe how good this book is. It's amazing. It's so good. Please read it. Please read it. It's amazing. I was so shook when I read it. Okay, we're gonna keep going. The next question is a new favorite or new to you favorite author. And I thought this was this author's debut, but it turns out it wasn't. I was just missing the boat for this author. And that is Kacen Callender, author of King of the Dragonflies and specifically Felix Ever After. And some others. I think there's one called Hurricane Child, and I'm sure there's more. I'm mostly going to hold up Felix Ever After because this is the one that I've read. I haven't yet read King of the Dragonflies, but I plan to very soon. Felix Ever After is about a trans boy named Felix who's never been in love, and he sort of feels like he is one minority too many to actually have a traditional love story. It's all about him questioning, like, sort of figuring out what his identity is, where he fits in the world, and finding his friends, and, you know, all of these things. Just... yeah, I tabbed up this book so much. Yeah, I don't know if you can see all of these, but it's a lot of tabs. It's a lot of tabs. I couldn't stop. I'm rereading this book next month for a book club, and I'm so excited because even though I read it at the beginning of June, I already want to reread it all the time because the characters were so, like, flawed and beautiful, and I just wanted to give them all big hugs, except for the ones that were being annoying, and those ones I just wanted to punch in the face, but you know. And it was so cool to see. I think that 90% of the characters in this book were queer in some way or another. Mostly the adults were the ones that weren't queer, but because they were so minor to the story, it didn't matter that much. Felix and all of his friends are queer. I mean, they go to art school, of course they're queer. But it was just so cool to see a story that was, like, dominated by people of certain minorities. Like, there were characters that were people of color, and there were characters that were queer, and it just... a beautiful story. And I read it so fast. You have to read it fast. That's just how it works. So, what are you waiting for? Okay, the next question is newest fictional crush. And for that I have to laugh in your face because, as one of my friends, Anna, on Instagram said to this same tag, I don't really do crushes, so. Next! The next question is your newest favorite character. And I had to think about this for a while because I fall in love with characters, obviously not in the crush way, like friend love. Like, I adopt characters into my... I don't know what I'm saying. I become attached to characters. There we go. I become attached to characters so easily. Like, it's... But when I was looking at all the books that I've read this year for this question, I was sort of like, well, yeah, but like there's that one and this one and that one and this one. And then I remembered a book that I've already read twice this year that I haven't mentioned yet. And that is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, and specifically Alex Claremont Diaz. I first read Red, White, and Royal Blue like the first day of the year, I want to say. And like, I love Alex so much. I love Henry. I love their dynamic and their relationship together. It's so cute. I love the alternate universe that Becky Albertalli. I love the alternate universe that Casey McQuiston has sort of set up for us. And I love all the characters being disasters, even though it gets them into trouble sometimes and all of that stuff. It's so good. And Alex is amazing. And please read it. I don't know what else to say. Yeah. Okay, next. The next question is a book that made you cry. And for some reason, I couldn't think of any of the books that made me cry. And then I was like, oh, but there's a couple on this list that like I don't want to talk about again. And then I remembered a book that I read at the very beginning of May, which was The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This was the first T.J. Klune book I ever read, and in case you weren't aware, I love T.J. Klune. Even though I've only read one of his books, I love him. I have another one of his books on my shelves, and I plan to read it eventually. I'm hoping to get another one of his books. I don't know what's going on out there. I'm really sorry about that. His new one. You know, his new one with the superheroes and like... yeah. So specifically though, The House in the Cerulean Sea is one of the most heartwarmingly adorable books that I think I've ever read. Like, Heartstopper was that for me for a really long time. It still is. Heartstopper is heartwarming and beautiful. But The House in the Cerulean Sea. Oh my god. I can't even, like half of these books, I can't even talk about it. I can't even talk about it. I can't even talk about it because I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know how to express to you how amazing and insane and so cool this book was to me. The characters, the way that they were set up and developed was just like adorable and beautiful. And like, I'm gonna cry now thinking about it. There were so many good quotes. I want to hug all of those characters forever and never let them go. I didn't cry. This is the thing. I didn't cry. I don't think I cried because it was sad. There were a couple parts where I was like freaking out about, you know, plot points. But I mostly just cried out of the pure goodness that each of the characters exhibited. It was insane. I was very shook. Okay, anyway. I think that's all I'm going to be able to say, so I'm just going to talk about the next book. And the next question is a book that made you happy, and for that I would definitely, I could say half of these books on this list, because like I said, so many of them made me happy. But I think that I definitely have to say Mooncakes by, Suzanne Walker and Wendy Zhu. Yeah, that's right. This was truly the first book that I read with a non-binary character in it. And it was the first time that I had ever seen myself represented in that way. Like, I Wish You All the Best is the one that I'm never going to forget, because it was, you know, that book, it's different reading it than it is in a graphic novel, the way that Mooncakes is. But like, no matter what, the moment that you get to see yourself represented in literature is such a special moment in any way, whether it's your sexuality, gender identity, race, your disability, anything like that. Like, getting to see yourself represented in literature is such a special moment. And the first time that that happens, if it's not a common thing for you, is insane. It's such a, like, it's so important. And so that's how I felt reading that book. It was like, wow, look. There it is. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like all of the books that I love, I don't know how to express it, but it just gives me so much happiness, and I want to shove it in the hands of every single other non-binary person out there, because it's just, oh, it's so amazing. The art style is so cute. So high. My camera cut off when I was talking about Mooncakes, and I don't remember what I was going to say. I said something about how I liked the art style, and I think that I want to read about Tam for the rest of their life and my life. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep going. So yeah. The next question is the most beautiful book that you've bought or received, and for that I would definitely have to say Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. Y'all knew I needed to talk about this book, so. But like, look at it. It's beautiful. I could have used it for most of these. I definitely had new favorite characters in this, all of that stuff, but like, look at it. It's beautiful. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. Oof, those leaves in her hair, the sword, like. And not to mention, like, this whole story. I cannot wait for Chain of Iron. I don't know if you guys have seen the cover reveal that Cassandra Clare did on her Instagram, but like, I'm not ready. I'm choking on my hair. I'm not ready. These books follow the children of the characters in the Infernal Devices series, which is a part of the greater Shadowhunter Chronicles. If you haven't heard of those, I don't know what rock you've been living under. Maybe it was the adult rock or the children's rock, but here in YA, this is sort of a really well-known series, and if you haven't read it yet, I do highly recommend it, because it's amazing and complex, and it's like, yeah, the first few books can be cheesy and very stereotypical, but I promise you, it gets so much better. The second half of the Mortal Instruments, the Infernal Devices, like Conquer Princess is insane. Reading the Dark Artifices and the Reservoirs of Magic, and now we have these, and it's like, yes. Yes, I'm here for it. I'm here for it all. I was hoping that this video wasn't going to be half an hour long, but like, you're welcome. Let's keep going. The final question is a book or books that you need to read before the end of the year. And for that, I'm definitely going to have to say, once again, I could pick any book that's on my TBR right now that I own, but I think that I'm going to have to say A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green, which I just bought a couple of weeks ago. It's the sequel to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, which came out in September of 2018, which I read in April of 2019. And the thing about this book, the reason that I'm so intrigued, is that book one wrapped itself up. Like, it was a perfect parcel that could have stayed a perfect parcel and not have any sort of sequel. Like, it could have had companions, like talking about the other characters, because that would have been really cool. I felt like the main character, April May, was very much the center of the story, which makes sense, but I do sometimes wish that we gotten to learn more about the other characters, so, you know, maybe that's what this will do, who knows. But, like, that story seemed complete, and I don't really know, like, the reason that I'm so intrigued to read this book is because I don't really know why this book is here. Like, did we need a sequel? But also, now that it's here, I have to read it, because I have to know why Hank Green thought we needed a sequel. Duh. I have to figure out how to get this 30% off Barnes & Noble sticker off, but, you know. Priorities. And that was the mid-year book freakout tag. I'm sorry if that turned out to be a lot longer than I meant for it to be. Currently, I just finished, oh, that's right, I was going to talk to you guys about what I've been reading recently. I'm just going to pull them all out because they're short and fun, and I've been reading them really fast. So, recently, I have been rereading the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. So I finished Titan's Curse today, and I'm planning on starting Battle of the Labyrinth a little bit later, and these books were some of the first that I loved that were fantasy. When I was really young, I was obsessed with historical fiction and contemporaries, and like whenever people would suggest to me to read like popular book series, I would always sort of, I'd be like, ew, no, why would I do anything popular? No. And then when I was in 7th grade, I had just started a new school, and I used to go down to the library in the mornings just because it was my favorite place ever. And I, on a whim, picked up, this is gonna sound really bad to you hardcore PJ fans, Percy Jackson. I don't know why I said PJ, no one calls it PJ. Anyway, I originally picked up The Lost Hero, which is the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series. And I believe, I can't remember entirely, but I believe I read the entirety of this series before reading Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which is not the way to do it. Read Percy Jackson and the Olympians first. But that was the first time that I was like, wow, fantasy can be crazy and so cool and so interesting. I should be holding this book up because I haven't reread it yet. And they were the reason that I read and picked up the Mortal Instruments series. They are the reason that I read fantasy and science fiction today. So thanks for that, Rick Riordan. I haven't reread them since like 2015 or 2016. It's been almost 5 years, and I really missed, like, I see Percy Jackson stuff all the time, and of course we've got the hype now because of the TV show, but I feel like I was missing something, like, I don't know, that I wasn't remembering them correctly or something, I don't know, so I had to do a reread. I had to do it. I had to do it. That's what I'm doing. And then after I finish that reread, because it's taking me about a day to read each book, so I should finish it today or tomorrow. And once I've done that, I'm planning on reading Loveless, like I said earlier in this video. And then I'm going to reread the Heroes of Olympus series, because those are so good. Yeah. You probably didn't really need that right now, but you know, we're just going to go with it. And that's the end of the tag. I feel like I should tag people, but everyone's done this already because I'm last to the party as usual, so I'm not going to. Thank you guys so much for watching. In the comments, let me know, like, answer any of these questions, or freak out about one of the books I mentioned. Tell me that I need to read tell me that I need to read A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor as soon as possible, Loveless, you know, all of that stuff. Just, yeah. I like getting comments. It's fun. I like seeing what other people, you know, get out of my videos. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye! How does the song go? Thumbnail time, thumbnail time, thumbnail, thumbnail, thumbnail time. Is that even? I made that up, didn't I?